Hello, I'm Dr. Dami Kabiawu, and I'd like to welcome you to today's recording on building dashboards in Excel. The dashboard we're going to build today is going to be done without the aid of pivot tables. Now, to be sure, pivot tables are the easiest way it's the easiest way to build dashboards in Excel, combination of pivot tables and pivot charts. But you can do it without the two, and I'm going to do some work today doing exactly that. First, I'm going to create a new tab, a new worksheet tab, and I'm going to call that dashboard. What I want to do is separate the dashboard information from the rest of the sales data. So on this sheet, what I'm going to do is, let's see if I can do a layout. I'm going to have a button here so that you can select individual sales assistants or all of them. I've got sales data and I'm going to put out the performance of salespersons on my from my sales data. But I'm going to have a filter up here that allows you to select individual salespersons or just all of them. I'm going to have another one here, filter by year. And then if we go back into the data itself, it's got the name of the associate, it's got the year, we have product, we have location. So I'm going to build a two-sided table for product and location, and then the user is going to be able to filter it by salesperson and by year. And that's what's going to end up here. But before I start, there are a few things I should think about with the data. The data itself, I'm going to use dynamic ranges for dynamic range names. The dynamic range names allow me to create a range on the fly so that if more data is added onto the end of my data, then that data automatically shows up in the table if I add one more line to the end of my data. That's why I'm going to use dynamic named ranges in Excel. Before we begin, I'm going to format the values the way they're supposed to. So that's my currency, unit price. I am going to format that as currency as well. I think that's all I need to format. Awesome. So now I'm going to prepare the range names. What I'm going to do with all of these is have the names at the top be the name of the range so that when I type date, it refers to this cell, product, it refers to this one, and so on and so forth. Now, there's something about Excel. Oh, and also I'm going to use these names multiple times. So whatever I set has to stay. There's something about Excel and range names. When you create them, they can't be an Excel. They shouldn't be related to an Excel value. So up here, product refers to the product is a function in Excel. So I don't want to use the name product. I want to use something else. So maybe we'll change this to item list. If there is space in anything that you create in Excel, Excel replaces it with one underscore. If there is a prohibited word or prohibited letter or character, like the bracket, Excel will change these to underscores as well. So item list, when I make it into a range name, it'll be item underscore list. So I'm going to use this in my filter, and I'm going to use this in my filter. So everything else, I'm going to change what it is. So item list, these are units sold. I'm going to call this total dollars. Let's call this total amount. Location. I'm going to put sales in front of it. So I've got price unit. All my names are going to have underscores in them because of the way I've set them up. Sales date. And we'll call this ID number. That allows me to tell it apart from any Excel names when it's all said and done. So first step, I'm going to make this, select the top row, hold down Shift Control and the down arrow. Okay, I was thinking that would select all the items in my list. Doesn't seem to be working this morning. That's interesting and unusual. So I'm going to select all the data in my list. Select the bottom row, hold down Shift Control and press the up arrow. It's not working. That's unusual. So let's try this again. First things, I'm going to hold down the Shift and all the select in my first row, hold down Shift Control and press the down arrow. It selects everything. Now, I've just discovered why it didn't work before. It's because I had dynamic arrays set up in my page. That's from an earlier exercise. I deleted all of the arrays because I want to do it again. And then this is what I'm doing. So first things, I'm going to create the names from the selection. Use the names in the top row as the names of my named range. Now, if I go in here, you can see that I have item underscore number and different kinds of ranges in here. The year all has 2 underscores, the name all has 2 underscores, and I'm going to delete that when I edit the named ranges. I'm making all of the names consistent so that when I'm using them, it's easy for me to identify. Okay, so I'm going to select everything, double click in between. That widens my column until it fits the data inside. Now, named ranges are done. Now, let me show you what I want to do with the dynamic range. I'm going to create 2 more lists. Those lists will serve the filters. So I'm going to take everything in here and return only the unique values so that I can use it in my drop-down list when I get to the dashboard page for the filter. And I'm going to do the same for year as well. I'm going to use Excel's offset formula to bring back all of the data. And then I'm going to use Excel's unique formula to trim down everything brought back dynamically to the important one. So let's do it one at a time. So I'm going to use the offset equals offset, open bracket. The offset parameter brings back all values. So let's do the year one first. Click on the first value, that's the reference value. I want to bring back everything relative to that set. Now, offset, if I can put the row number and the column number of the value to bring back. So if I say bring back row 6, for example, and column 0, those are the 3 compulsory values. Press enter. It brings back 2005. And relative to year, it is the 6th row, an item on column 0, which is the same column as the reference item. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2005. I can edit this offset parameter and ask it to bring back multiple items. So I can ask it to bring back 90 rows of data, for example. Oh, sorry. yeah, the height parameter tells this thing how many rows to bring back from where it is. So if you can notice, it's brought back everything from here, 90 rows, done. I can also ask it to bring back more than one column. Since there's no data to the right of this, I can select the one to the left by changing the reference cell. So I'm going to start from row 6. I'll start from column -1. Let's see what that brings back. So starts from here, column -1, 6 rows down, it brings that everything from here. Now I can say bring back 2 widths of data, and it will bring back 2 widths of data. So that's how the offset parameter works. So let's go back and change all of the inputs. So my reference cell is the beginning of year, and I want to bring back the 0th row from where I am, which will bring back my reference cell. And the 0th column, it will bring back my reference column. And I'm going to use Excel's count function. I'm going to use count A because I've got words and numbers in here. If I use count, count brings back the count of rows with numbers in. Count A brings back the count of rows with non-blank values. So for height, I'll just say count, the number, count A, sorry, the number of values in this cell, and bring them all back. I'm not going to put in anything for width. So now, if I go to the end of this, you'll find out it brings back everything. So now that I know that I can get all the data back using offset, I'm just going to put a unique formula around it. So I'm going to say bring back unique and then the offset value in a nesting behavior. Just so you know, this is an advanced Excel exercise. So we'll type unique, open bracket, and now Excel will bring back the unique values. The way Excel works, when you've got nested formulas, that's when you have more formulas in formulas in formulas. It does the innermost formula first. It will do a count, return the number of rows. There's 1900 rows. Then it will use the 1900 in the offset formula and bring back the 1900 rows. And then it will use unique with the offset formula to bring back the unique values in that row. Press enter. That's what I have. I'm going to do exactly the same thing with the year, with the sales associate name. So this time I'm just going to type it in one go, unique. I'm going to open that bracket and go back in the function. It needs at least one argument. And the argument is going to be offset parameter. The offset needs a reference row. 0 values, 0 rows, 0 column. Height, again, we'll use count A, open bracket. Everything in here, close bracket, close bracket. Now, you'll notice a few things about the way I've built this formula. I forgot to talk about it initially. When I'm counting the rows, I actually select the whole column. The whole column is what I selected, everything. And the reason for selecting the whole column is so that if the column expands, the offset formula will catch it. I could use the same style on the dashboard page when I'm building it. But when you're building a formula or a spreadsheet or a table on a different page, which I'm going to do in a minute, it's always useful to be able to refer to the items you're after by name. It just makes it easier. If I didn't need that function, I could 100% create the dashboard without using dynamic range names. I can. It's not necessary, but it does make the work easier. So, okay. There we go. So I've got the list of all names and all associates. Now I'm going to create named ranges for this. I'm going to select it, and there are two ways to create a named range. I can just type it in here. Or I can go to name formulas and define name. Because I selected the cells first, it already shows here where the name will refer to, and I'm going to call it name filter. Again, I'm choosing names that are easy to recognize and remember, and that's important. So let's do OK. Oh, sorry. If I'm creating the range names, it needs an underscore. You cannot have a space. Now I'm going to go here and do the same and call this name filter. Actually, yeah. So define name underscore filter. Again, it refers to cells M1 to M10, okay? It says the name already exists, so let me see where the name exists. Oh, this should have been year filter, so let's edit it because it refers to year. We'll call it year filter, okay? Close, and then this one, we're going to define name and call it name filter. Okay, so now let's go and do some editing. What I'm going to do is use the offset formula instead of the addresses, because the offset formula will expand as I go along. So before I do anything, I'm going to trial the offset formula, make sure it works, and then copy and paste it. When you're using the offset formula in name ranges, you want all of your cells to be permanent. So in Excel, if you have a relative address, it has no $sign. If it is a permanent address or absolute address, it has a $sign. So I'm going to put $$ in front of my reference cell to indicate that every time I use this formula, I want it to absolutely refer to this particular cell. You see why? Because if you don't do that, when you change anything in Excel, the relative addresses in your offset formula changes, your range location will change. So you want to make this a permanent address when you're going to use it in the name manager. And that's what I'm going to do. So F4, the row is 0, column is 0, and for height, I want to use count A, and select this cell here, close the bracket, and this one, I'm going to make it an absolute value by pressing F4. That puts $$ in front of the column address, press enter, and it works. I can see that it works. So now I'm going to copy that offset formula and use it multiple times. Control C. We'll go into my name manager, and all of the names I've created is here. And I'm going to start to change each and every one. So double click on the first one. ID refers to $2, $182. I'm going to delete that and replace it with the offset formula. And then I'm going to edit it so that it refers to the column that has the number ID. So column A has it. I've edited this to be column A, column A, column A, and okay. And bear with me, I'm going to do this multiple times. Now, if you're using a PC, you can do your edits direct. When you click out of it, it will ask you if you want to save the changes, and you just pick yes. Item list is in column D. I should probably have checked it before I deleted everything. See, do you want to save your changes? Yes. This name range, I'm going to double click on it because I'm going to change the name and have it have only one underscore. Name is in B. I'm going to select, put the offset formula in here so I don't have to type it. B, change all the I's to B. And okay. With name filter, I can change it directly because I'm only changing the location. The name filter is in column M. I'm going to make that dynamic because if you add a new salesperson, the sales filter will get wider. And I want this to capture that information as well. Sales date, this will be in C. I'm going to keep quiet for a minute while I get this done. You feel free to fast forward if you need to. I don't want to have to redo this when I need it. That's why I'm fixing everything now. Here all, I want to remove one of the underscores in the name. Here is the correct one. Okay, so I've got all the name ranges done. Now let's go do some work. I'll start with the filters. And I'm going to use what if. I'm going to use data validation to provide a list in here that people can choose from. So again, I went to data, data tools, data validation, selected list. And where is the source for my list? It's going to be name filter. I think it works this way, doesn't it? If I click in here, brings back everything, and we're going to do the same for year. Doing it this way is only going to allow individuals to pick one input at a time. They're only going to be able to filter by one person's name. Again, I'm not trying to do too much because if you are really doing this for real, you would use pivot tables or pivot charts instead of formulas. See why it's important to pick the names that make sense. I can remember that it's called year filter. And I know exactly how it's written up to the case because I set up the names to be consistent. So I've got my filter in here. I'm just going to make this yellow so I can identify it. As you can see, Excel doesn't really show the drop-down list until you select it. Now, I'm going to create the labels for my data by selecting all of the names. I'm only going to keep the unique values. But let's start, let's start by selecting all of the names and pasting it. Selecting, I don't need this. This is the offset formula. So I'm going to delete that. Selecting all of the year and pasting it. Ooh. The year was done with formulas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste just the values. The year all was done with formulas. If I click on any one, you can see that it is a formula. So when I copy it, its relative address, it's looking for the relative location on this sheet, which doesn't exist. So I'm just going to paste the values. Now I'm going to delete the duplicates. Oops. Keep my current selection. I'm going to select this one. Continue with my current selection. Oh, I've done it to the wrong one. What I need is the items. That's the filter for my table. Those are the dimensions for my table. And location, that's what I want. Okay, let's try this again. I have 4 locations on all of my list. So item list / location. I want the location to be, let's call this, that's the header. I want this to be across so that I can use the row to do a 2x2 check. So let's copy this and paste, transpose. Once that's done, I don't need this anymore. So my table data is going to be here. I'm going to count if the location is south and the product is lip gloss. And I'm going to check what values are here because that determines whose information I'm going to bring back. The idea here, my table, by the way, is going to be placed right somewhere here. The idea with this setup is I want to count the number of products, or I could do sum. Let's do sum. I'm going to sum the number of products that, the amount of the product that is lip gloss. The sales were made from the south, and then for a particular sales assistant for a particular year or for all years. So let's start here and say equals sum if. What do I want to sum? I think I have an amount, right? Ooh, that's the problem with named ranges. This is called total amount. I'm going to sum total amount by looking at item list for sales location. the range to sum is total amount. Oh, sorry, the criteria range. I'm not doing well with this. My criteria is in item list. I want to check for lip gloss. And if I find it, I want to sum total amount. And my lip gloss, I'm going to copy this formula across and below. But I want it to always point to column B. I don't mind if the row varies. I'm going to use a mixed address by putting a dollar in front of the column letter. You can go back and check that that's the case. I want to do two sums, so I'm going to delete this. That's how the sum if will work, but I also want to check if location is south. So about we use sum ifs. Here you start with the sum range, and then the criteria range, and the criteria, F4, and the criteria range for location. I think I call this sales location. And south, this time I'm going to make the row absolute. And that's it. So let's see what went wrong. I'm going to evaluate this in Excel by clicking the evaluate formula, and I'm going to step into it and it's going to evaluate it step by step. I can see the problem. This is bringing back, my dynamic array is bringing back more rows than I anticipate. I only have 1892 rows right now. And where the second part is working, the first part is not, the row to sum. Click evaluate again. Click evaluate again. So it says if sales data, this address, some sales data, this, sales data, check this for lip gloss and check the other one for south. So the sec2 arrays are working, but the total amount array is not. So I'm going to close this and go back and see what's wrong with that array. It's not really the array, right? Because I'm doing, oh, I forgot to change this to F. So it should work now. Let's try it. There you go. It works. I'm going to format it as a currency. Sorry. Remove the zeros because the decimal place is not important in the grand scheme of things. And just copy the formula around. And we're done. But not quite, because I've only done the first one. I actually didn't check for these values. And there are 4 combinations that these values can give me. If it's name all, then I want this formula up here to run. If it's year all and name all, then this formula runs as if. If it's a particular sales associate's name, then it will reduce this and my sum ifs will be smaller. And if it's a particular year, it will reduce my sample as well. So let's start with this. I'm going to call this, I wonder if I want to. I won't. So I'm going to use ifs. The ifs formula in Excel allows me to do multiple checks. So let's put it here. Equals ifs, open bracket, my first test, value if true, value if it's false, and then next, oh sorry, I do a logical test and then I put in a value if it's true. And then the second test and value if it's true, and so on and so forth. So here, ifs this is equal to name all, but I'm not going to type name all. I'm going to go back to my original list and say if it's equal to the label here, which comes from here, then do some work. Essentially what I want to do is, if this cell says name all, then do something. But when you're doing a logical test, one, the names have to be equal. So if that's the case, then print this value, for example. When you type in text in Excel, you put it in double quotes. So, right, it is name all. So if this value in here, if E1 is equal to name all, then do something. Right now I'm saying print this out, but I'm just going to say, okay, then option A. Type A in the box. The problem is, if I go in here and change these values to, for example, remove, not this one, the original value, to remove the brackets, guess what happens? The name changes and this should change. The name all is no longer a part of this list, and this one will evaluate to false. So if I want all my information to be dynamic, then what I want to do is link to a cell that contains that name that links to my original data, so that when my original data changes, everything changes. So this is the cell I'm going to link to, because I know it's connected to my original data, and when my original data changes, it will change. I'm going to make this an absolute address, by the way. Press enter, and now it will work regardless of what you change this to. So let's go back in here and change the name back to what it was. This changes, but you do have to refresh your list to incorporate the name change. Now it would work regardless of what you call it. So that's what I'm going to do. Now if E1 is equal to sales data and this and year or, and G1 is equal to year or, then do this formula. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create one formula that we're going to copy across. So E1, sales data, A1. I'm going to use the AND formula in here to do two checks. So I'm checking that E1 is equal to sales and that this cell here is equal to year or the label. That's also a permanent address. If that's the case, type A. I'm going to copy this for my second check. So my second criteria, if E is not sale, but this one, if this is not name all, but this is, then do option B. Oh, and I'm using the wrong operator. I'm using the, oh, I did get it right. Okay, so now if this is equal to name and year all is not equal to year all, then do option C. And then the final one, if the name is not equal to name all and the year all cell is not equal to year all, then do option D. So now the sum if that I use depends on which option it is. So now let's test this. Betsy, that's option B. Let's put this back to name all. We'll change this to 2004. That's option C. And then when both of them, when neither is name all or year all, I have option D. Now, depending on what option goes up here, some kind of calculation will happen. For option B, for option A, if name is name all and year all, there's no additional filter, just the ones I have here. So I'm going to copy this formula and nest it in place of A. So the A part of this is working. So if I go and I select name all and year all, see, it works. Because I'm using named ranges and permanent addresses, this should be a permanent address. E1, that's an F4. G1, F4. So now I can define what happens for any of the other sections that I have. So now let's go deal with B. First one, name is name all, year is year all. Second option, name is not name all, but year is year all. Now we have to do additional, modify the sum ifs a little bit. So I'm going to copy the one I did before and start with that. I'm looking for option B in here. So sum total amount, check item list is equal to B4, check sales location is equal to C3. Now also check, did we call it year all? I think it is. If it's not, so we're not checking year all, we're checking name all. Is equal to whatever name is in here. So now the second sum ifs is sum total amount. If item list is equal to lip gloss, for example, sales location is south and name all is whoever the sales associate is. So press enter. Then if I go in here and select Betsy, see? Betsy's sale of lip gloss in the south is 1,109. So now let's tackle the next one. Now, if this is the case, I need to edit option C. And this time, I'm not checking name because option C is if name is equal to name all, then do the summary for all assistants. But year is a specific year, so we're going to limit it by that year. So the next one here is year all. And we'll take whatever year is in this cell, make that a permanent address. Press enter. Let's go test. It works, but this won't work. Now, Betsy and 2004, that's the last one. Now, I'm going to go delete option D, replace it with the first sum ifs and just add on to it. If the year is not all and the name is not all, then do it for a specific person in a specific year. So now the next filter is name all. And the name we want is whatever is in here, F4. And year all. And the year we want is in this cell here. And we shouldn't forget to make that a permanent address so that I'm going to copy the formula. And when I copy it, I want everything to copy with it. So now this is Betsy sales in 2004, in 2005, in 2006, in all the years. And I can do Halligan, I can do Christina, and I can do everybody. And it works. So now that I know my formula works, I'm just going to copy it. Control X. I'm going to copy it exactly as it is. And go in here, delete what's in here, and Control V, press enter, and just copy the formula across and down. And there, my people, is your table. You can do more tables, but this is all I'm going to do for now. Now I want to label this table because I want to know at any point in time what I'm doing. So let's merge the cells here and type equals whatever name is here. And whatever year is here. So I'm going to put some data in here. This is total sales amount. This is going to be part of a formula, but it is text. So total sales amount. In Excel, you can join things with the AND formula, or you can use concatenate formula or text join. Any of those will work. But the AND by itself works for simple cases. So total sales amount, I'm going to put a space in here, and I'm going to go and add the formula, add this cell to it. So see, total sales amount, name all. That's not quite good enough. So I'm going to do the if again. If that cell is name all, then put something else in. And here, I'm just going to attach a formula. If this cell up here is equal to the header for here, then I'm going to type in there just all sales assistants, all salesperson. I keep saying assistant. I worked at a restaurant. All salespersons. Total sales amount for all salespersons. If it's that, otherwise, if it's not, then just put the individual's name. and that individual's name will be in this cell here. So that should work. Total sales amount for all salespersons. If I change this, total sales amount for Betsy and total sales amount for Ashley. Now we can identify who we're looking at here. But what about the year? We're going to do the same for year, right? I'm going to put year in brackets so that I end up with, let's do I end up with something like 2004, right? Or better yet, I want to end up with something like brackets 2004. So something like this. All sales amount for Ashley, whatever the year is. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. All salesperson, and then I'm going to put an if statement in, and I can either have all sales all years, or I can have all sales assistant. So what shall we do here? Okay, if this cell is equal to, see how easy it is when you don't have to type. Then I want you to type open bracket, all years. Actually, that's not even good enough. I want to do from 2004 to 2008. So that's not good enough for me. I'm going to use a text join to finish this up. So let's leave this alone and create the bracket and open bracket. So something like that. I've got text to come in, but the text I want is going to be based on here. I want the lowest value and the smallest value from here. So I'm going to use the min and max function to do that. So, and if this cell is equal to this cell right here, comma, I want to type, I want the minimum and the maximum years, but I have to use text join. A lot of formulas. I'm using text join because I want to use minimum and maximum in the same section of this, in the same section of this Excel's thing. I want to join two pieces of text with text join. And because I'm using it in an if statement, I can't think of a way to put two formulas in there without putting text join. So text join, I want to join it with the two. And what I want to join is the minimum value in here and the maximum value in here. I know it's a lot to deal with. And I'm going to use the year filter. Min, so we'll go year filter and max year filter. So I'm going to take the minimum and maximum values in there. Go back to my formula, permanent address, permanent address, permanent address, permanent address, and everything else, permanent address, everything else seems to look good, except for some max filter. And then close the bracket for my text join. If it's true, if it's false, then I just want to select the year. Okay, so that just solved my label problem. Okay, so at least it sort of is working. Maybe not so well. So let's try this again. Total sales amount 4. If this says all sales, all names, then it's all persons. Oh. This is interesting. Okay, so let's see if I can't evaluate this in Excel. So Ashley equals sales. Do I have Ashley in here? I do. If Ashley equals name all, which it isn't, it's false. So it's going to go and do the second half of the equation where name is equal to Ashley. So it says total amount for Ashley. And the second part of the evaluate, we're going to check G1 is equal to, G1 is all year, is equal to sales data L1. So if all year is equal to all year, then it should do the text join, which is the minimum in the year filter. That is 2004. And the maximum 2006. So that should have worked. For some reason, it's chopping off my, if true, 2006, but I used the text join. And it seemed to be working, right? Let's try this again. So this is where I'm looking at. If year all is equal to year all, which it is, it evaluated to true. Then text join, minimum filter year, and that's 2004. Text join 2004 to 2006. So this is what I should have had. I should have had 2004 with the to thing 2006. But for some reason, it's disappearing. It's just evaluating to 2006. Which is interesting. It's something I definitely have to look back at. I think can I change the formula in there? So let's say min and maximum. And I wonder if I can do and to, and just use the and concatenator to add the information that I want. Okay, so that works. That is very interesting. I don't know why the other formula didn't work. So I've just said minimum value and to maximum value. And then put the final value. And I'm missing a closing bracket. So I'm just going to put the brackets after the max year and okay, so let's see if this will work if I select one individual year. It almost works. And this is where I need to close that bracket. So, and what to do if my test is false, as in this case. Okay, so that's it. So I have a dynamic label that changes. For all of the information. Now, I can just add a chart to it. Let's select everything. Insert, look for a recommended chart. The different ways to express this, we can use a clustered column chart. We can use, these are not very nice. We can use a stacked column chart. We can use, I think I want this one. So let's go with this one. So that's my simple chart added on. Now let's make the chart beautiful. The title of the chart is going to be whatever the title here is. Oops. So I'm going to select the whole thing, go into my address bar, type equal to, select my header. That becomes the header for my chart. Move it somewhere into the middle. It's awesome, isn't it? So now, by changing the filter, everything in my chart will change. And there you have it, my final dynamic table, dynamic chart, everything linked together. And I can, of course, go change information. How about I add a new person to my list? And that person will sell eyeliner. She's going to sell 1,000 of them. I'm going to put the price as $1,900. I want something really big so I can tell when I put it on the table. And she's going to be operating in the South. And it's going to be for 2007. Now, let's go look at, that's my original data. My year has expanded to include 2007. Benefits of dynamic range. My salesperson, what did I call her name? Did I give her a name? Oh, she did not have a name. So how about we just put me? And we say this transaction, or code 6/12/2007. And in keeping with the formula thing, big mistake, just drag the formula down and drag this down. All the cells are filled. Now let me go over. I should have a new sales associate, Dami, and I should have a new year. So that's the year dynamic array. And then that's the new sales associate. And now I can go into the dashboard and select Dami in here. And you have sales for Dami in 2005 is 0. You might want to figure out what to do with the chart if everything is 0. Or maybe not. It doesn't really matter. Dami's sales is in 2007. And it isn't working. There is a little bit more work that needs to be done here. There is a little bit more work that needs to be done here. I wonder if I can evaluate this formula as well. So Dami sales, it doesn't match name all. That evaluates to false. So it goes and looks in 2007. It doesn't match year. We keep on evaluating until we get to the last if statement. Dam is not equal to, that doesn't work. The second one's evaluated to false. That evaluated to true. We don't want to do that. We want the AND statements that evaluates to true. So now dummy is not dummy. 2007 for year is not year all. So now the AND statement evaluates to true. And if it's true, it's going to do the sum ifs. Sum total sales data, total amount, if product is lip gloss, which it's not, and sales data. Okay, so that's not the one I want. I wonder what product Dami is selling. I probably should have paid more attention when I was putting this in. What is Dami selling? She is selling eyeliner, and she sold 1,000 of them in the South. So if we go back to South and eyeliner, there should have been information here. Everything is going to evaluate to false until I get to the last statement. So notice the first one evaluated to false. This doesn't get done. Second one to false. This doesn't get done. I expect the third one to evaluate to false. The sum ifs doesn't happen. So false, false, false. The third one, this is the one we want. And that option, dummy, is not equal to name all. And 2007 is not equal to sales data. So the last AND evaluates to true, and that's the one that gets done. So here is sum total amount. If item list is equal eyeliner and sales data location is equal South, it evaluated to 0. And I'm pretty sure I spelled eyeliner wrong. Excel can be annoying sometimes. And there we go. There we have it. So I hope this was helpful. It was certainly a long tutorial to do one thing. Should have taken me a shorter time, but it is what it is at this point. Let's just clean the chart up, remove the grid lines, change this back to Ashley, and change this to 2004 or year all. I'm going to make the chart transparent by going to Format. That's the context menu that shows up when I select Chart. And I'm going to make the fill, no fill. I'm going to make the line, no outline. So that's my chart. Then the last thing I'm going to do, not the last thing, I'm going to format this a little bit by adding some light background color, very light, very, very light. And I'm going to make these bold. I'm going to make these bold. I can sum, so I can find all lip glosses across all locations. I'll open that bracket, sum across, and drag the formula down. We can do a sum. That provides more information because then you can create a chart for the values on the end. So this is total for all items, and these are the total for all locations. And of course, let's make this wider. Let's make this wider. Let's make these bold. Let's make this bold. Let's put some formatting in here, maybe a thick border. This way, another thick border. Make this same shade as the header. Maybe put a thick border around here. I like using thick borders a lot. And another one here. So there we have it. There we have it. That is our table. You can now change colors. You can do a lot. In fact, you can put in a pie chart or something to that effect. The pie chart is for the totals, right? So let's, let's make this dynamic and then add some information. I wonder if I can use and put some text in. Actually, I don't think I need to. I don't think I need to. So same header. This is my little chart. I'm going to change the layout for the charts. We're going to make this chart design, select some other layout for it. Kind of like this one where the numbers are in. Oh, oops. Let's have some labels. Click on select data. You can edit the labels that go with your chart here if you forget to put them the first time. So now instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, you have the correct labels, and you can then do your quick layout, and that's a better one. Remove the grid lines again. No grid lines. Go to format, no background, no fill. And actually, I don't even need a chart title. So I'm going to remove the chart title and just leave myself with a data label. Can you see? So what we're going to do with this is just layer it on top of the other chart that I made. So put this chart here, make this smaller, and then put this somewhere here. It looks as if it's the same continuous chart for the same person. Could make it even smaller, right? Put it here, and maybe change the color scheme on this one. Actually, change chart type. Let's do something a little bit more, with a bit more, yeah. I like that. Remove the legend. I have to go back and remove the filter and the fill, and then I can kind of put it somewhere here for more information, and we can change this, format it, make it a bit bold, and change the text for it. So, I mean, this is it. This is our simple dashboard. I hope you enjoyed your time with me. See you in the next video.